So now let's just create that spread amount for our crosshair. So whenever we jump, the crosshair should go off. When we shoot, the crosshair should go off. When we run, you know it. You play a game. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to our third person, open up our third person character that we were working on all this time, right? It is important to write some blueprint code in an organized way, not just put everything in here in event graph, because it will get messy like you see it in here. We don't need something like this. We will fix this, but let's just from now on try to use functions more. Okay, so no, I want to create a function for calculating how much our crosshair should spread, right? So in here in functions, I want to create a new function and I want to call it calculate spread amount for crosshair. Okay, it is big, but it's self-explanatory, right? So now with this function, we want some input. Why? Because in this video series, I want to show you some other nodes that will help you in your game a lot. So it's an excuse for me to use more node to show you the easiest way, the best way, the simplest way to do some great stuff. So now we have this function, right? And we want to use this function in our event graph. And let's just put it in our event graph like this. And you can see there is a target that is self because we need it to be self. We want it to be this blueprint class. And it has an input execution pin and output execution pin. No, because we always want to calculate this spread amount, spread it and bring it back together. Always we want to check for that. I want to use event tick. Okay, you know that event tick will happen 60 times per second if your game is 60 FPS, right? We can just do it like this, connected to here. So now this function will always happen, but I don't want to put it alongside all of these events. These events is just the events that we create. I don't want to put this event tick in here. So what we can do about that? You know, we have an event graph in here and this event graph is in graphs. In here, we can create another graph like event graph. It's new, it's empty. We have a lot of space and we didn't mess it up, right? So for preventing mess up our event graph, I'm creating a new event graph and I want to call it event tick graph. Okay, so whatever that need to use this event tick, I want it to be in this event tick graph. Okay, so now in our event graph, I want to cut this event tick. The whole point of this event tick graph, new event graph in here, is to use whatever that need to use this event tick in this new graph. So no, we don't need to do nothing for this spreading, of course, in our main event graph. We can go to event tick graph. Okay, so know that it is more organized with creating new graph. We in this function we need the delta second as well. Why? Because I want to use timer. So for example, if you shoot your gun, we want the crosshair to spread for 2.2 seconds, for example. So we need time. We can use this delta time. And for creating that, we can go to our function and in here, click in here and add an input. Okay. And the type of input, it should be float. Why? Because if we go to our event tick graph, you can see the delta second is in float. And I want to call this parameter, this variable, I want to call it delta time. Okay, So with this delta time or delta second, we can have some timer, okay, to tell it after 0.2 second, the crosshair should go back together, right? This kind of stuff. Now our function is ready and it has delta time. Let's just go back here and connect the delta second to delta time. You see in many nodes it call it delta time, but in here in Eventic it call it delta second. Both of them are the same. It's just the difference between last frame time and this frame time, right? So how much it take for one frame, how millisecond, for example. Don't worry about the definition of this delta second. I will show you how you can use it and you will understand it for sure. So no, in here we have this function. And in here, what I'm going to do, I want to create some variables, okay? So for doing that, first of all, let's just create the first variable. I want to call it crosshair spread amount. Okay, so we just use this crosshair spread amount, that is the type of float at the end, to decide how much this crosshair should spread, right? And right off the bat, it's a good idea to give it a category. And I want to give it a category of, you guessed it, crosshair, okay? Now with that, let's just set this variable, set crosshair spread amount, right? And by default, I want to have some default spread amount, like 0.5, right? But it's a better idea to use a variable in here, not putting a hard code in there, right? So let's just again create another variable of type of float, and I want to call it crosshair default spread amount, okay? And we want to set it there, right? So this is the default one. If we compile it and click on it, we can change the default value in here to 0.5, right? And I want to put it on the crosshair category. So both of them should be on crosshair category. So now the crosshair spread amount is a default crosshair spread amount, right? So we set that. Now let's just see how we can use this crosshair spread amount, that is right now it is 0.5, to spread our crosshair in our widget blueprint class. Let's just compile this and continue in next video.